Hello, welcome to the Big Scuba Show.
Hi, my name is Claire Jenner. I'm the Head of Inspiration and Impact at the 2 Minute Foundation, and I'm here on the Big Scuba podcast with Gemma and Ian.
Today's episode is sponsored by Narked at 90, so let's find out a bit more about them. Narked at 90, their tagline has been beyond technical, which describes them pretty well. John Routley and Brent Hudson launched the company over 20 years ago. They are both technical divers who have logged thousands of mixed gas dives between them over a 30-year period. Using their engineering know-how and diving expertise, have developed bespoke, personal, commercial and military diving equipment and products of a universally recognised, unparalleled calibre.
Their ability to be adaptive and versatile with their developments led them to support the NHS during COVID. Using their superior knowledge of breathing and oxygen monitoring systems to help develop emergency ventilators. They also design and supply the sneaky stuff used by defence-based development groups throughout the Western world, although they can't tell us much about that. If you're thinking of moving across to tech diving or completely new to diving, Narked at 90 can advise and guide on the best equipment and setup for your personal or commercial requirements. Narked at 90 have unparalleled experience of shearwater dive computers and are the longest serving and sole and UK European service centre for those. They are happy to offer technical support, servicing, repairs and upgrades to all shearwater computers, past and present. Narked at 90 stock shearwater computers but are also stockists and technical support centre for many other manufacturers including Divesoft, JJCCR, Hollis, Revo and Kiss Rebreathers.
Based centrally in the UK, Narked at 90 also offer full rebreather head servicing for selected manufacturers.
Bespoke cable assemblies.
Advice on specific fitting requirements.
Suggestions and guidance for home builds.
Computer laser cutting and engraving.
Pressure testing to simulate 400-metre dives.
So, Narked at 90, a reputation built on supporting both manufacturers and divers worldwide.
Go to narkedat90.com and make sure you are following their social media to keep up to date with their latest news and offers.
Narked at 90, large enough to cope, small enough to care.
Hello and welcome back to the Big Scuba podcast. My name is Ian. I am coming at you from Bungay. We are here together, as you can hear. My co-host is with me, and we are on episode 150.
150.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
For just over 3 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So how awesome is that? And 130 countries so far.
Yeah, I think it's slightly more than that now.
Yeah, so we are slowly claiming the planet as ours.
Yeah.
Under the name of the Big Scuba.
World domination.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's Bungay for you, and you know,
The centre of the universe.
I've always said it's the centre of the universe.
It's sunny in Bungay.
It certainly is. I want to say thank you very much for downloading this episode. Thanks for listening. What are we about? We are about talking to divers. We like to have a chat with people who have got something about the water, particularly divers, free divers.
Artists, people that in some way are connected to the underwater world or the watery world.
Yeah. I'm a Divemaster. Oh, I just hit the mic. And you are fairly new to diving.
Yeah.
Saying that you've been diving now a couple of years.
Yeah, 60 odd dives, and yeah, it's quite new. We don't get to dive sort of every week. We try and dive monthly, don't we?
Yeah, we can.
Because we've got lives outside of scuba diving.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about balance.
Balance, yes, and being happy. Yeah. So.
Actually, you've had thing with your dad this last couple of weeks, haven't you? So we were going to be diving last weekend, weren't we?
Yeah, we were planning on a trip to Stony to do our first full face mask dive, but unfortunately Dad had a bit of an accident, so he's been in hospital for...
But he's on the mend?
He is, yes, so but I'd rather be close to home while he's in hospital. So but we're planning on diving in the next couple of weeks, hopefully on a weekend, aren't we?
That'd be good. Good to get back in the water and look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to get in with the full face mask.
I look forward to getting in with potentially a wetsuit, really, actually. Not far off.
Sun shines in the UK, and
I like my dry suit, but I also like diving in a wetsuit as well.
Yeah,
so it's quite nice.
I bet if you drive down the street now, there'll be people in shorts and strappy tops because the sun's shining.
I thought you was going to say about walking down the street in a wetsuit.
No.
I think bungee can be a bit odd at times, but, you know, that would be a little bit strange.
Yeah, but don't you
even
think
for
when the
bungee.
sun comes out, people just suddenly assume that it's 25 degrees? And
Yeah, that's England for you.
I know, it's
We do
funny.
That's what we do, because we have very little of it.
As we
So
sitting in our shorts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's got to be done.
Yeah.
Anyway, episode 150. So we've got a lovely lady who's coming on to talk to us about 2-Minute Foundation.
Yeah, Claire Ginner.
Yeah.
So, and she's based down in Cornwall, Devon. Oh, in Bude, wasn't it?
Yeah. And why did I think her surname was Ginger?
I don't know. Ginner.
Is it spelled Ginger?
No, without a G.
That's not. Who remembers? What's that TV show with Bucket and Miss Bouquet?
Keeping Up Appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's this going now?
Well, I'm just thinking, is that actually spelled Ginger?
No, it's Ginner. Apologies, Claire.
Sorry. Are we recording?
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, we're talking to Claire about 2-Minute Foundation, and we're hoping to try and win talks with the organisers of the river clean-up in Norwich to try and marry something up.
Yeah.
So we can do something round about end of June time as a river clean, roughly when there's a special thing going on with the 2-minute clean-up.
Yes, and when you listen to the conversation with Claire, there's a special weekend coming up where they're celebrating 2-Minute Foundation.
Yeah. So look out for that. So apart from that, that's kind of been about it, really, isn't it, from our front?
We have got on the paddle boards, sea lion boards. So we went out yesterday, and I went out a couple of weeks ago and had a nice paddle. So really liking the sea lion boards.
Yeah.
So if you want to take a look, go to sealionboards.com, and if you fancy getting your paddle board ready for the summer, because it's such a sunny day, then you use the big Scuba code and you get a decent discount.
Yeah, that's right. And also, Honey's still learning, still going through her journey with diving and doing really well. And not long to go before her open water.
Month, isn't it, nearly?
Yeah, so I'm sorting some thermals out with her for keep her warm in a dry suit.
Yeah, get her kitted out, so that's good. Yeah, we had a little session in the pool. I had my full face mask on, and actually it had a bit of a leak on one of the connections. So luckily John Osmond has had a look at it.
Came to the rescue.
He did, yes, took it all to bits.
John to the rescue.
Yeah, so hopefully that's all sorted now.
He'd make a good Thunderbird, wouldn't he? Thunderbirds I go. Do you remember Thunderbirds?
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So, right, so we get this guest on.
Yes, so Claire Ginner, she's head of impact and
Not
inspiration.
Ginger.
Listen, she's head of impact and inspiration at 2-Minute Foundation, and she is so enthusiastic about the cause and just about the ocean.
She is.
Yeah, it was really, really good conversation.
Was,
Really
yeah,
enjoyed
we
it.
had a good chat with her, so look forward to this.
Yep, so if you're in Bude, go and pay them a visit, but you'll hear that they've got cleaning stations on lots of beaches around the UK as well.
And this is the good thing about things like this, isn't it? Is, you know, you get somebody gets an idea, and then other people pick up and go, "Hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that." And you know, little things all of a sudden just then sprout, and then that gets further, you know, around the country.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, have a listen, and hopefully now the weather's a lot brighter, people will get out on the beaches doing
More litter picks.
Yeah, litter picks. Yeah, and you don't have to be on a beach to litter pick either. You just take care of
No, definitely not.
your local area. We all see litter, especially like on the roads. It's part of our daily life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
So, but yeah, listen to Claire Ginner from 2-Minute Foundation.
Right, let's do it. Let's get her on.
Hi there, guys.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Good, thank you.
Right, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Right. So, Claire, from the 2 Minute Foundation, you've got 2 minutes to tell us about yourself. Go.
About myself. Okay. So I currently work for an environmental charity. I've spent my entire career really working in environmental conservation around the world. I've been very, very fortunate to work all over the place and be inspired by our amazing oceans. And when I came back to the UK, I thought it's time that we protect our own patch. I've spent many years overseas protecting coral reefs, etc., and lovely little islands. And I thought, no, it's time to sort of, take it home. And so now I live in Bude in Cornwall. And I spend most of my days at the beach, whether that's for work or for pleasure, a bit of both. And that's me in a 90-second nutshell.
Well done.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So you mentioned, obviously, you've been in the marine world. So how did you start out, scuba diving?
Yeah, so I had a gap year back in those days when everyone was having gap years before university. I was one of those. I actually never intended to go to university. So for me, it was just a one-way ticket overseas. And on my wanderings, I was in Mozambique and I learned to dive there. And it was phenomenal. And looking back, when you're like, how was that somebody's first experience of diving? Like, that should not be allowed. I remember on my second open water dive, I was doing my PADI open water, and on the second one we saw a whale shark and then we saw a manta. But obviously at that point of diving, you kind of don't understand how big of a deal that is. It's only 15 years later that you're like, I still haven't seen another whale shark. So I learned to dive while I was traveling, and then dived loads in Africa at that point as well. Then I went to university, and then throughout all of my summers, I spent the summers traveling again. I get really, really itchy feet if I'm in one place for too long. So then dived all over Southeast Asia, and that's where I ended up sort of working predominantly after university. So at university, I studied sustainable development in coastal communities, bit of a mouthful. And for my dissertation, I worked in Indonesia to gather some research on an island of Sulawesi. So I was working there with a fishing community, really, to understand what was going on with their reefs. So my interest with the marine has always kind of been the anthropological side. How are the communities interacting with their marine space? I met my partner at university, and he's a marine biologist. So we then traveled the world together, and he would do the sciencey bits and I would go in and speak to the village chiefs and do the community and the education side. So it was a really, really lovely kind of way of traveling together. It was amazing, and we had these incredible experiences because we were kind of like, look, we're a package deal, but this is what you can get from us, and it worked really, really well. So so then we sort of spent 5 or 6 years wandering around the world and doing that kind of thing. Came back for a couple of years to the UK, and again got those itchy feet, so went off again and spent some more time in Indonesia and worked over there for a while, and just diving all the time, really. And then when we came back to England to settle about 5 years ago, we started slowly to get into UK diving. So where I am in Bude, we've got an amazing BSAC club, the Bude Dive Club, and they go out all the time around here. So we've joined that and slowly getting the winter gear. Haven't quite got the dry suit yet. So I'm still a bit of a fair weather diver in the UK waters. But yeah, looking forward to getting out a bit more this summer as well.
Brilliant. And on the south coast, you get, I think mostly your currents are mostly warmer than what we get on our coast.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm actually in Bude, which is the north coast of Cornwall. So we're right in the Gulf Stream. So we get really warm water compared to the rest of Cornwall and Devon, which is really nice. But yeah, it is more temperate. But I think the thing that we have to contend with most here in Bude and around is the waves, because you might get perfectly still week where you're in every day, dive, and then you get another 15-foot swell for a few days, and it kind of ruins it all. So you kind of have to take it when you can, and make the most of it when it's flat calm.
Yeah.
So when do you so your diving window would run from when, would you say?
From as soon as I'm brave enough to don the semi-dry and give it a shot. I think last year the first time we got in was early July. And then the last time we got in was early October. So we had sort of July, August, September, a bit of October. So 3 or 4 months. But
that's similar to us, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Yeah, but visibility is our issue on our coast. Yeah, whereas you're probably, a lot more lucky with what you've got there.
Yeah, there's some really, really sheltered spots. And actually the dive club go out year round. There were people diving last week somewhere in Cornwall, down south somewhere. And, you know, so there are spots. I just haven't quite got the dry suit part of my brain engaged.
Are you going to?
I will, yes. I'm super excited to. I will. I absolutely will.
Have you been looking around for suits?
I haven't even got that far yet. I need to. It's just a big investment, isn't it? And it's a super exciting step on the journey, and I'm looking forward to doing it and learning a new skill, because, you know, with diving, although it's constantly evolving and you're constantly learning, you're never at this stage, you don't really learn new skills.
Yeah.
You know, you've kind of learned your skills. You've done your 500 dives or whatever, like, you know what you're doing. So it's actually quite exciting to then be a student again and get in a pool with a dry suit and get your buoyancy all wrong and figure it out. I'm quite looking forward to making a bit of a fool of myself, really.
Yeah. So have you done any inland sites in the UK?
No.
Yeah.
I will, I promise. I really will. I was so excited to. So this is the first year that I've really got more involved with the local dive club here. So for the last couple of years, I've been sort of dipping my toe in. This year I've just done my IFC actually with BSAC, so I can start instructing as well. So I've done that crossover to make it all a little bit sort of better for the club. I can support the club, they can support me, and hopefully I'll get in the sea a little bit more. And I really want to do some of the quarries. They all sound amazing. I just need to do it.
I'm guessing that where you live, you're only a short drive from the coast, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's about a 15-minute walk to the beach. So yeah.
Lovely. Yeah,
it's really good. It's good.
And it's a nice time of year now, because, you know, summer's around the corner and beach life starts again.
Yeah, and this is actually like my favorite time, because at the moment we get those really sunny days. I don't think it. So my mum lives in Essex, and she tells me that the weather there is very different than here. So forgive me for rubbing it in. But we get really, really sunny days at this time of year, and there's nobody around. So you get those lovely kind of really quiet days at the beach that you just have it to yourself, but it feels like summer. You get chucked out of the wind, and it's actually quite warm, and it's all lovely and sunny and blue skies, but the tourists haven't quite arrived yet, so you can kind of feel like it's your own special paradise for a little bit longer.
Nice. Yeah, it must be such a contrast to being, you know, all the experience you've had abroad in amazing places, and then you come back to the UK with its own, you know, its attractions as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's discovering that, you know, it's so lovely. And I think it took me a couple of years to sort of get that in my head, that, you know, because I have been to some amazing places and dived, and to me it was like, oh, it's not a dive if there's not a shark, you know. Or I got quite complacent, I guess, with what my border was like. If it's not going to be 30 meters visibility, it's not worth my time, kind of thing. I'm kidding. I'm not like being a brat about it, but I kind of had that in my head, and it's actually taken a couple of years for me to realize that what we've got in the oceans here in the UK is phenomenal, and it needs to be explored, and I need to be in there exploring it. Like, I'm obsessed with nudies, and they are everywhere around here. You just have to, you know, believe that they're there and look a bit harder, because they don't hit you in the face, you know. And I think that's the same for a lot of people that I've spoken to about diving in the UK. You know, they don't understand what's there until they're in it, looking at it, and then they kind of go, whoa, mind blown. This is as good as anywhere in the world on its day. And it's exciting.
See, you need to go further up north a little bit, and then get yourself onto Lundy Divers and go and have a dive at Lundy Island. Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
And all that. You're going to love that. And
I know, I really would.
In a wetsuit in the summer easily.
Yeah. It's on my bucket list. Don't worry. That, and I want to do a dive with blue sharks this year as well, down south a little bit. So I've got a little bucket list of UK dives to tick off in the next little while.
Yeah. And we have spoken to some guests that have, you know, real passion for the UK and everything it has to offer. And I think, you know, people just don't realise, they dismiss it quite quickly because they are blue water, warm water divers. But the wildlife that we have, you know, blue sharks, that's amazing. And
I know. Oh, I'm so excited to get more into it and become more of an advocate for it, because, you know, if anyone talks to me about diving, I will rattle on for ages about nudies and sharks and whale sharks, etc. But I don't often talk about lobsters and crabs and the seaweeds we've got here. And actually that's so important and so cool. Like, we've got the most amount of species of seaweeds of anywhere, and they're all really exciting. And we've got the seals that come and play, and there's so many fun things under there, and you can see them all snorkeling as well, which is even better for those who can't access diving. The snorkeling around here is incredible. And I'm really looking forward to, I guess, being educated a bit more on it and experiencing it for myself.
Yeah. And we're an island at the end of the day, and we all live on an island, and we should have so much passion for our coastlines, because it is so important.
It really is. And I spend my days talking about the beaches and the coastlines and the importance of protecting our oceans, and I don't necessarily go into the oceans, under the oceans here. I'm changing it. It's going to be there. I'll be there. Ask me in a year. I'll come back in a year and I will be like flying the flag for British diving.
So shall we, so that's kind of diving, but shall we talk a little bit about, the 2 Minute Foundation, and how you got into it, and a bit more about, what that actually is and what that means? Because I get you encourage companies to sponsor events and things.
Yeah, well, we kind of do everything. So the 2 Minute Foundation is a charity. Started out as just a non-profit, and then in 2019 we became a charity. And it all started about sort of 10 years ago. And our founder, a guy called Martin, had gone into the sea for surf, came out of the sea, the beach was littered with plastic bottles, and he was like, this is crazy. Like, we need to do something about this. So he had a bit of a following on Twitter. He was an author, so he already had a little bit of a following, and he just put a tweet out there that said, you know what, guys, this sucks. I'm going to do a 2-minute beach clean. And he used it as a hashtag for the very first time. And it kind of went bonkers from there. And it snowballed. And people grabbed onto this hashtag of 2-minute beach clean. And that's really where it all started. So sort of fast forward a year, and then all these people were around the country doing their 2-minute beach cleans and talking about it on the internet, which was great. And then Martin thought, well, we need to give them sort of a tool, something tangible to help them with this. And that's when he created the A-frame stations. Some of you might have seen them around the coasts. They look like sandwich boards. They've got litter pickers in them and some bags. There's 1,100 of them around the coastlines now. They are everywhere. You can't really go to your local beach without falling over one. They're brilliant. They're everywhere. So those stations then became our kind of, I guess, our way of getting those people that were maybe hesitant to do beach cleaning to make it easy and say, well, look, you don't need to have a bag. Just turn up at your beach and there'll be some there provided for you.
Yeah.
So fast forward, another 6 or 7 years, that's where we're at now. So we've got the 2-minute beach clean campaign that is going madly well all over the world. People are doing 2-minute beach cleans, which is brilliant. We then moved that inland and made a 2-minute litter pick campaign. So now we're sort of trying to bridge that gap between that disassociation between what happens in the middle of the country as to what happens at our coastlines.
Yeah.
We've got a 2-minute solutions campaign, which is all about simple things that people can do in their own days to sort of improve their space around them, their mental health around their space around them, and their relationship between the two. And it's going mad. So in Bude, we've got the beach school now, which we oversee. We have people visiting us, like you say, we have corporates that come to us for days to learn a little bit about how they can maybe be more sustainable in their practices. We're going on a tour in a few weeks' time. I'm off to Northumberland for a few weeks to sort of visit everything up there. Because we're based in Bude in Cornwall, we're a national charity. It's very important that I sometimes leave Bude to try and see people outside of Cornwall. So I'm going up to Northumberland, which will be great fun.
Great diving up there as well, the Farne Island.
I know. I'm super excited. I'm definitely packing my gear. So that's kind of where the 2 minutes at right now. And it's this amazing global movement and a national charity, which is fantastic. And I've kind of been involved with it from the start. So Bude's a very small town. Everyone knows everyone in Bude. Everyone knew Martin because, like I say, he had a bit of a profile. He was a slightly famous author. So everyone knows who Martin was. I happened to be working at a beach cafe when he came up with this idea of these stations. And he came to me and said, would you trial it and see if it works for us, and put it outside the cafe, which is a great cafe called Rosie's right at the beach. And so we said, yeah, sure, we'll give it a shot. We don't think anyone's going to use it, but yeah, sure. And we just kind of monitored whether it was being used, and it was being used, and it was amazingly successful. So it was from there really that then he went mad with it. I then joined in 2020 as an employee. So I've been with them for 3 years. What year are we in? 3 years. Yeah.
So how many people are actually employed by the foundation?
There's 9 of us. Yeah. 2, 3-ish full-time, and then the others part-time.
Yeah, that's really good.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
All started from one hashtag.
Yeah, it started from just one guy going, you know what, we need to do something, and just putting it out there.
That's what it takes.
All it takes. That's all it takes. And I think that's what people really have got into with 2 Minute is that we're not asking you to commit to loads of time. We're not asking you to commit to loads of money. We're just asking you to do a tiny bit if you can. And who can't do that? 2 minutes is such a small amount of time. And it's a metaphor, 2 minutes, isn't it? We're not saying you need to do 120 seconds and when it gets to that you stop. It's an analogy. It's a kind of way of saying if you've just got a spare few seconds, do a little bit, take a little bit of responsibility and have a go.
Yeah, and it's great you're bridging the gap from the coastal side of things to street cleans and bringing it inland. So it kind of spreads the message even further other than coastlines.
It does. And actually we found it's hard, isn't it, when you are coastal and you see the effects of plastic pollution or climate change or sea level rise, whatever it is that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis, it's hard to fathom that other people don't see that. And it's only when you remove yourself from your bubble, which is natural, the bubble that you surround yourself with is people with similar interests or similar experiences to you or similar locations, so they all know these things too. And when you remove yourself from that and you talk with someone from a completely different bubble, it's only then that you realize not everyone knows what's happening at our coastlines, or not everyone understands that their actions there affect what's happening there, and not everyone knows why sharks are important. And it's only kind of when you really take a step back and think about it and ask those people that you realize the disconnect, I think, because living in Cornwall, or even I grew up in Essex, so again right on the coast there, you kind of the sea, what tides do, that the cockles are going to be there at certain times, you understand it, it's intrinsic, it's part of you. But if you don't have that, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got some questions for you, which come to, because some of my job is actually litter picking.
Great.
Part of my job, and it's one of my areas, and I can't say who the client is a particularly bad area.
Okay.
It's not your side of the country, it's on the opposite side of the country.
Okay.
And it's an area where I feel that we don't make much increase in making the area better. Okay. And I spoke to the owners of the site, and they've asked me about what they can do and things like that. And I've said to them, we cannot do it on our own. It's a community thing, because the whole areas needs, if all we can do is pick the litter up on one little bit, but somebody comes along and empties a bin an hour later, right where you've just cleared up, that's kind of the mentality, and the education needs to come into it. And it's kind of like, it's really good hearing what you're doing, but how do you get people like the councils involved to say, to get them to say, right, we need to do more? Because there's certain areas of the UK are not great, for this. And I work in one of them, and I really don't think I can name it. And somehow you can't get the council involved to do it, and we can't do it on our own because it's too big.
It's banging. You feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall.
Yeah,
it's just, there's no improvement, and it's how that gap is bridged.
Yeah, it's really, really hard, and it is a mindset thing, and there's nothing you can do or say to some people, and at some point you kind of just have to go, you know what, I'm not going to win this battle, and then you move on to one that you can win. But you're right, councils, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot, because we have some councils that are mega supportive, because so I do travel around the UK doing lots of events, etc. And to do an event on a beach, you have to get permission from the landowner. So more often than not, I have to ring the council and say, I would like to come and do a beach clean. This is what I'm going to do. Here's my insurance. Here's my risk assessments, blah, 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 blah. Is that okay? 8 times out of 10, no worries. Thank you so much for coming. That's brilliant. Yes, great, lovely. What can we do to help? But 2 or 3 times out of 10, you'll get a council that will say, no, you can't come and do that. And you say, but why? Okay, fine, that's fine. I respect your decision, but why? And it's because they always say the same thing. And they always say, we don't want people to think our beaches are dirty. So if you're advertising a beach clean, it will make people think our beaches are dirty, and then the tourists won't come. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
nuts, isn't it?
Bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. And they're the occasions where you kind of have to go, you know what, this is a bigger conversation that needs to be had with this. This isn't a one-time, I'm not going to change their mind right now. Like, let's just leave that and move on. And it is that education, like you say, that education that's missing. The thing that I think, the way I can sort of be okay with that, because again, cleaning the beaches, the tide comes in, the next time it's full of mess again. Like, you know, you are fighting a losing battle all the time. But I think even in a council that is less responsive to what you're doing, or less supportive, or less proactive, should we say, the more they see people doing it and wanting it, the more they will change. It might take them 20 years. It might take 20 years of people saying, do you know what, we need to do more? Do you know what, we need to do more? How could you help? Could you do with this? Maybe you could help. But every single time we ask those questions or bring that to public attention, it's going to have an impact. I
found a crisp packet, and it was 21 years old.
Nice. Excellent.
And it was, apart from dirty, it was
intact.
Yeah.
And I tweeted the company Walkers to say, found your crisp packet 21 years later. And you think the amount of crisp packets I pick up during the day is, you know, and there must be millions that go into landfill and things like that,
or just naturally get buried in
21 years, and it's still in good condition. That's how long this stuff lasts.
Yeah, I mean, it's another misconception that people think plastic breaks down. I mean, even environmentalists still talk about, oh, this bottle's going to take 500 years to degrade. That's false. Plastic cannot degrade. It will not break down. What it does is it breaks up. So you kind of, it's the complete opposite. If you've got a plastic pot, for example, the figures, whatever, might say that's going to break down in 500 years, but it won't. It will break up into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. It will become microplastics. After that, it becomes a nanoplastic. Then it becomes atmospheric, and that's what we're breathing in. But it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't degrade. It always exists. So any piece of plastic that has ever been created in the entire history will still exist today and in 500 years in some form or another. It does not go away. And I think that's, again, there was this sort of, you know, this big marketing campaign maybe 10 years ago when people were saying, well, plastic might not be great. Plastic bags aren't great. Did you know they take 50 years to degrade? And for some reason, people have taken that and gone, gosh, they take 50 years to degrade. That's not true. They don't degrade. They're not going away. They're just breaking up and up and up. Yeah. You know, we're breathing it in now. It's been found in placentas. It's been found in bloodstreams. It's been found everywhere. We're inhaling it with our daily breath. So I think there's lots of misconceptions around plastic and litter. But I think it's changing. Like, you guys might remember as well, if you think sort of, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, there was a massive campaign from Keep Britain Tidy. Yeah. And that was all about not littering. And now if you go out and about, you don't often see people actively littering. You do sometimes, of course you do. But you don't, in the same way that, you know, you don't drive down the motorway and everyone's tossing things out their car like they were 30 or 40 years ago. You know, that massive marketing campaign then, that was, again, just a few environmentalists that were going, hey, let's not litter anymore. And everyone thought it was mad. And it's taken sort of this 30 years for the majority of the population to take that on. Yeah. And it's the same when the plastic bag charges came in. I mean, I remember that happening. I guess I was maybe about 10-ish. I think I was quite young when that happened. So it was maybe 20 years ago. And when that plastic bag came in, everyone was like, this is ridiculous. And they were still paying for 20 carrier bags every time they went to Sainsbury's or Tesco's, because you couldn't do your shop without a plastic bag. But now no one does that anymore. It takes a generational change or a really long time to bring those things into effect. And it all starts with someone having an idea and putting their hand up and saying, this isn't okay, we need to do something about it. So I kind of feel like that a little bit with the councils. Just keep on going, all of us collectively, keep on showing that we're not okay with littering, that we are going to keep on picking it up. And 20 years down the line, those councils will, you know, they'll catch up with the ones that are already being really proactive about it. Yeah. We're all on the same journey, we're just at different points of it.
Yeah, and it is a timeline. You know, I live near the beach, and you do see members of the public just doing a litter pick of their own accord, and you know, they're regulars and you see them always, and you think, well, that's really good, and hopefully that's a bit contagious and will make somebody else think, oh, I'm going to get my litter picker and
exactly that. Like, we often refer to litter picking as a gateway drug for you and for others, because you'll do a litter pick, someone will see you doing it, and I'll go, oh, maybe I shouldn't just drop my crisp packet here because that guy would just have to come along and pick it up. Maybe I'll go put it in the bin. And then they might, start thinking about their habits. And the same for you as a beach cleaner or a litter picker. You start by just maybe picking up a couple of bits if you see it. Then you might go out and do a 5-minute one. Then you'll be doing an hour-long volunteer, let's do an organised litter pick. And then before you know it, you're trying to live a plastic-free life, and you've got your coffee cup and your water bottle, and then you become really into it. It's sort of, it breaks the way in. But you're right, the more people that see people doing it, it normalizes it, and they will start to change their habits. So I think it's so easy to feel demoralized with litter picking and beach cleaning. It's so easy. But you've just got to hold on to the fact that when you're doing your beach clean, someone's going to see it. And if it changes their mindset, or if they even mention to a friend, I saw a guy picking up litter the other day, like, it's that ripple effect, and it actually does work. I have lost count of the amount of times that people have asked me if I'm on community service from prison when I'm litter picking. Like, so many times. It's crazy. But it starts that conversation, and it's a fun thing. They come up to you and they're like, oh, you're doing community service? And I'm like, no, I'm doing this for fun. And then it just starts this conversation, and they're like, why are you litter picking? Well, generally for me it's beach cleaning, so I'm normally at the beach, and it's, why are you beach cleaning? And then you start talking about plastics, and they go, really, I didn't understand, I didn't know that. Oh gosh, isn't that bad? Or maybe I'll go and pick this up. And it starts a conversation, and that's what needs to happen. You can't People can't change their habits if they don't understand why they need to. So you've got to start with the explanation. They've got to buy into the idea before they do it. If you're just told to do something and you don't know why, no one's on board, to be honest. You need to understand the reasons behind it. So having those conversations is a really important thing. And people seeing you doing a litter pick is a great starter for the conversation.
Yeah, and it just shows communication and action is the best way to get a message across generally.
It really is. And blame is not the way to go.
No.
And as a charity, we're very careful that we don't blame or shame or name anything, because we were all there once. I remember, I'm sure when I was 5, I dropped a bottle on the floor once. Like, you just, you make mistakes when you don't know better. And we, as I say, we're all on a journey. We might be quite far up one side of the journey, but other people are just starting, and making sure that we're kind about that and helping and sharing what worked, what didn't. And, our stories is a really, really important part of the process to get people on board.
Yeah. So how do you spread the message of the 2-Minute Foundation around the country or worldwide? Is it through social media?
Social media has been really good for us. I think the timing was just so right that we had this hashtag that was a brand new baby hashtag just as Instagram launched, and it took us with them. So yes, social media is a great way for us to spread our message because it does go global, which is amazing. But locally, we do a lot here in Bude. So everyone in Bude knows who we are and what we do. We have loads of free activities all day long for kids, for adults, visitors, locals, everything. And then, like I say, we do 2 or 3 of these tours every year where I actually go out and do a load of engagement in a different area. So last year I did Dorset for a month. This year we're doing Northumberland and Birmingham, and probably a few more that I haven't even thought about yet. But yeah, I think especially at the moment, while people are actually moving away from social media for one reason or another, we are making sure that we are reaching them elsewhere. We've got a great website where people can get information. You can sign up to our newsletter. I'm on YouTube. I do loads of little videos. If you're going to the beach and need some inspiration, we've got some little 2-minute videos and some bigger ones. And find us online basically. But we're in Bude, so just come on holiday to Bude. Come see us. We're at the beach. We've got a lovely shiny new office, hopefully very soon at the beach, because at the moment we're in a shed.
Hey, great things happen in sheds.
They do.
That's where the jet engine was invented, all sorts.
Hovercraft, everything, wasn't it?
Yeah, bouncing bomb, everything. Everything's all been invented by people in sheds.
Well, big boots to fill there, but I'll give it a try.
And it's great that reaches a worldwide audience as well.
It is, and it's really cool that we can monitor that. And I think that's one of the bonuses of social media. Someone tags us in it, or they've done their 2-minute beach clean and it's come from Australia or Hawaii or Japan or Russia. Like they're all over the place. It's really exciting.
So what's obviously you've got your tour for the rest of the year, so have you got any other sort of plans?
We've got lots of campaigns in the pipeline. Yes, lots of like lovely campaigns. And we've got 2-Minute Day, which is in the middle of June. So every year we celebrate 2-Minute Day. This year we're doing 2-Minute Week, and it's just an excuse really, to celebrate the community that we've got online and show the love to them. It's June the 25th. Is that a Sunday? Oh, I'm going to get told off if I've got that wrong. It's about the 25th. It's the Sunday. 25th, 26th, 25th.
Maybe we could do something here.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Because we must be due a river clean round about then.
Yeah, we get involved maybe quarterly in a river clean. So we have dived the river. So we've done a river.
Word with Gary Champion,
Cool.
the Norwich councillors, and see whether we could maybe tie something up. Would be really good.
That would be so cool. Yeah, that's what we're encouraging everyone to do during 2 Minute Week, to just do their 2 minutes and show the world and shout about what they're up to and spread the word, and give themselves a good old pat on the back, because there are people that are doing these 2 minutes every single day around the world, and they need celebrating. So that's going to be a big week for us this year. It's exciting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, no, that's really encouraging to see. There's obviously all the people that collect the ghost fishing gear and out at sea, and you're doing your bit on the coast as well, and inland. Yeah,
it's a really lovely. The environmental world in the UK is really lovely because we all do work together. And I know it sounds really cliche, but we are stronger together. So there's so many different charities and organisations working together for the same purpose, and we really do work together for that purpose, which is great. It's really, it's not so cutthroat.
Do you know one of our previous guests, Dave Kennard?
No.
Kennard, yeah. So he's Neptune's Army of Rubbish Cleaners.
They're just up the road from you.
Pembrokeshire.
Oh, I mean, that's quite a way up the road.
Across the water.
I'll have to look him up.
Just a long, just a little stroll.
Yeah, but they do a lot of recovery of things like lobster pots, and
great.
So they are divers, but it's just amazing. But their emphasis is starting in their backyard, so they look after their local area, and everything starts literally with what you've got on your doorstep, and then it becomes bigger and it snowballs. And
that's brilliant. I'll look him up, and
look him up.
Good old LinkedIn, that will
help. Everything's there. So it sounds an amazing charity. So the best place for people to go if they want to find more about the charity?
Website is a great place, or find us on Instagram and Facebook. We're very active on both, and Twitter. So whatever kind of medium floats your boat. And if you're local to Bude, just come see us. I can talk for hours, as you can tell. I'm more than happy to talk your ear off about anything to do with oceans or plastics or climate change, anything at all.
What is your website? What's the name of your website?
It's 2minute.org.
Brilliant.
Right, okay.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, we'll pop the links in the show notes so people can click on those, and then they'll appear in some of our social media stories when we promote the podcast. But that's really good, and people can have a look. And you said about the stations, so can people purchase those, or are they kind of donated?
Both, really. So people can purchase them direct, from our website, and then all the information about them is on there, as well as an interactive map so they can see where their closest station is. People can donate them, can purchase them, but if they can't afford to purchase them, they can get in touch anyway, because every so often we have a big business that will come along and say they'd like to buy 10, and we can gift them to people that are on our waiting list. So if you're a community group and you can't quite fundraise enough or whatever, but we also have loads of ideas about how you could fundraise for one if you are in a community or a village or a little group that hasn't got any funds coming in. So best thing to do is just check out the website and then get in touch with any questions. But we are so eager that everyone have these stations if they want them, and we will help you get one if we can.
Okay, that's brilliant.
I
just had a thought. I'm going to ask you one of our set questions.
Okay.
You can take, not diving this time, you can take 3 people on a litter pick or beach clean, on one of your 2-minute beach cleans. Who are you going to take and why?
Oh, that's a really hard one, isn't it? I was prepared for the 3 people taking diving question. 3 people litter picking. Okay, I would like to take someone who is quite... I don't know. I'd like to take a big polluter. So perhaps, the CEO of, I don't want to say Coke, because it's not, they get a bad rep. They're not necessarily worse than any other, big drinks company. But I feel like I'd like to take someone like that. Yeah. I'd like to take someone like that can actually have the power to make change as well to some of the stuff that we find. So that would be one of them. I would like to take, okay, do you guys know what nurdles are?
Yes.
Yes.
Tiny bits of plastic. Yeah.
Yes, I'll just show this up to the camera in case anyone doesn't. Oh, you can't really see that, can you? This is a little jar of nurdles. This is another little jar of nurdles.
We get loads of them at Walberswick.
Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. These are everywhere. I'm a bit obsessed with nurdles. So these ones I picked up in about a minute at the beach yesterday. And there's 250 in there. And I would take on a litter pick the guy, the board, whoever it would be that is responsible for there being no legislation on nurdle spills, because I think that would be really interesting for them to see just how many end up on all the beaches all the time. Yeah. So at the moment, when a box is spilled from the back of a lorry or in a factory or anything, nobody really has to declare that. So there's no kind of element of tracing what's going on with them. And these are the biggest threat that we've got in our oceans today, in my opinion. You know, fish think they're food, they fill up their tummies, they smell like food, they look like food.
So where do they come from?
So these are pre-production plastic. So anything that's made from plastic starts its life as a nurdle. So if you are in a factory and you want to make a blue plastic chair, you'd get your box of blue nurdles down from the shelf, melt it down and pour it into the mold of the plastic chair, for example. But in those factories, at the end of the day, obviously a few will have been spilled. The cleaners come around, they mop the floor, we pour the mops down the drains. Drains lead to the sewers lead to the rivers lead to the ocean. So that's one way. The other way is literally falling off the back of a lorry, which, you know, it happens. You might have a lorry spill, for example, and again, they'll find their way into the gutters, into the sewers, into the rivers, into the oceans, and then from container spills as well in the ocean itself. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a crazy statistic. There's a wonderful charity called Nurdles, and their latest statistic shows that 280,000 of these are spilled every second just in Northern Europe.
We should probably explain for our listeners that what you're actually holding up is a spice jar.
Yes, it's as big as my finger. With
bits of plastic, round little balls, which are about the size of a peppercorn.
Yeah, peppercorn's a good one. Yeah, lentil. People often compare them to lentils.
Size of a pea.
No, they're smaller than a pea.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've seen a lot of people on Instagram, like people that do beach cleans and they make art out of the plastic they find. And it seems like there's a lot of nurdles more on the south coast, west coast. Is that predominantly right, or would you get them in Scotland? Because we don't see them frequently on our beaches on the east coast here.
No.
Yeah, they are very there's hotspots, yes. And the west coast, west-facing beaches tend to get them more all over the UK. So the west coast of Wales, Ireland, Scotland. But they are found on the east coast, particularly at big river outflows, because they travel through the rivers. So you'll often find them on river banks. And the south coast has got some of the biggest hotspots of anywhere, actually. So they are found most places. I think I have done maybe 150 beach cleans around the country, and I think there's probably only been a handful of beaches that I haven't found one on, but not in the same number that we get them here.
How are they getting into the system?
Just waste, isn't it? It's just like disposal.
Waste.
I never understand how when we've done beach cleans, say Walberswick or wherever, and you pick up a tiling square, a divider, a spacer, or a screw. What do you call it?
Plug, raw plug.
The wall plugs. Yeah.
And you think, right? So that if you look at the cycle of that, somebody's gone to a hardware store, B&Q, other ones are available, bought that, put that in the wall, and then somewhere along the line, it's come out of the wall, gone to a waste tip, and then either a bird or something's picked it up and then has dropped it on the beach and all gone into the water.
That's
a cycle.
It is a really big cycle. The majority of stuff that we find on the beach is like wall plugs, because they're light and they're plastic. Chances are they've come in from the ocean, so they're not being necessarily started in the UK. So a crisp packet and a drinks bottle, that's likely to have been someone that's had a picnic on the beach and just got up and walked away. But where you're finding the nurdles, microplastics, wall plugs, strap webbing, bits of fishing net, like the fisherman's kisses, the little small bits of fishing line and stuff. That's coming in from the oceans and we don't know where. So the currents bring those in from goodness knows where. There's an amazing cove right by me in Bude. We take people there all the time. And it's a hotspot for where different currents converge. So, I mean, in one beach clean last week, we found, hundreds of things, but from 12 different countries. So you can recognize by the packaging on the wrappers or whatever it is. So 12 different countries worth of things had ended up on this beach just on one day. I mean, like I say, we go there every week and we clean it. We can never get it all. There's just masses of things there. And it's tiny things like wall plugs to massive things like fishing crates and everything in between. It's an amazing, amazing example of what the currents are doing to the waste around the world. Yeah. And, it's not all from Asia either. No. You'd kind of understand if it was all coming from one current, but actually we had something from Japan, we had Dubai, America, France, somewhere in Southern Africa, couldn't quite determine which country. So, it's coming from literally every part of the globe. The currents are all moving together and then coming up through the Gulf Stream and landing on our beach. Yeah. And it's just incredible, the amount of countries waste that ends up. So, the waste that we have in the UK, it's very unlikely that it's going to end up on our beaches. It could be ending up in France or Spain or Japan. We just don't know.
Yeah, there's even people I've seen that Lego, like a big container's fallen off a ship and it's full of Lego and bits of Lego are all floating around the sea and then keep turning up on beaches.
Yeah, yes. I know. And that was 21 years ago and we're still finding that. So that was 21 years ago that Lego was lost, Lego lost at sea. And we're still finding, we found a flipper last week here in Bude. Like we're still finding bits from that container, from that ship. And there's an amazing book that's out about that. If you're interested in Lego Lost at Sea, have a look at the book by Tracy. It's incredible. And it is called Lego Lost at Sea. It's the most beautiful book. And she has dedicated, she has dedicated like the last 20 years to collecting this Lego from around the place. And I went and saw her collection last year and it's phenomenal. Like photographed it all beautifully as well for this book. It's so interesting. It's a real lesson in how currents have worked. And it's good.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing thing from just picking up litter on a beach and then we've got two currents in the sea and wide rubbish. It's just, it's amazing.
But it's so interconnected and I think that's kind of the message to take away from this, that like you say, it's from picking up litter on a beach and actually it's waste that we're getting from around the world. Like everything is connected and we are at the center of that. And it's for that reason, it's nobody's responsibility. So it makes it everyone's responsibility. You know, this stuff that I was picking up at the cove yesterday from Japan, do I expect the Japanese councils to come over and pick that up? Of course not. Like they're not going to do it. So we've got to do it. We're all in this together. It's a collective problem.
Was any of it dated?
Yeah, often. So most things are within the last year or two. We found a few things that are older, a couple of things that are newer, but generally they're all within about a year or two.
Yeah,
and a lot of food stuff.
Yeah, it shows it's a worldwide thing. So, you're doing your bit in the UK, but hopefully there are people, in Japan that are doing a similar thing.
Absolutely. It's reciprocal. We've really got to solve this together. And I think that's really what 2 Minute is all about, that it isn't one person's responsibility to do a lot. It's everybody's responsibility to do what they can and just a small bit when they can. And there's no point in having guilt about it, like... Yes, I couldn't do an hour-long beach clean this morning, but I picked up 3 bits. That's amazing. Like that's a pat on the back. If everybody did that, that's a huge, huge thing. Like there's that lovely quote, and I'll never know who said it originally because it's been rehashed and re-spoken about a billion times. But there's a quote saying, "It's only one plastic straw," said 1 billion people. I don't know if you've seen that around. But it's the same in reverse, it's only 3 bits of plastic that I've picked up. If a billion people picked up 3 bits of plastic that day, that's 3 billion bits of plastic that aren't in the environment, aren't then going on to cause further harm and to break up into smaller and smaller pieces again that we're then breathing in, etc., etc.
It's getting the manufacturers to stop using it in the first place, because if not, we're forever in this cycle of litter picking. And at some stage, one day, we really don't want to do litter picking anymore.
No, God,
we don't want to do beach cleaning anymore because there won't be that problem.
Absolutely, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? And there, again, if all we do is beach cleaning, then all we're going to do is beach cleaning. We need to be doing more, and that is putting pressure on the producers, the manufacturers, to look for alternatives. We know that they're out there. There are some amazing organizations now that are using alternative products. So we know that the science exists, the technology exists. It's about getting it into the mainstream. And that comes down to us. You know, we have to vote with our wallets, don't we, if we can.
Someone we know has come up with a bag that's made out of hemp. It's a type of plastic, and but it's actually made out of hemp. It's totally it can go into recycle bins, the lot.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
No, it is the manufacturers as well, but hopefully, and again, you know, it's all a journey. So
it is.
It's not going to happen overnight. We know that. But it is, everybody, you know, like you said, is on a journey at different stages. So
yeah, they are. And just think about that plastic bag ban. You know, like that's a real example of what can happen when pressure is put on. Yeah. And, you know, now it's very rare that you go to Sainsbury's and see people buying those 10p plastic bags because everyone's really got the bags with them. Yeah, of course, you're all going to get caught out from time to time. You might need to buy one. You know, that's natural. That's normal.
You feel guilty then. It's just
you can't feel guilty because if you think you might have done that once, but 50 times you haven't needed to, you know. So it's about celebrating what you can do, and not worrying about what you can't do. And I think that's a massive, you know, eco guilt is a real thing that goes alongside eco anxiety. People are so worried about the world that they feel guilty if they then contribute perhaps to the problems, or if they have to fly, or they have to buy a coffee in a coffee cup. Like, don't have that guilt. Just have loads and loads of respect for what you can do and what you have done and what you will continue to do, and celebrate those small wins. And I think that's kind of our ethos, really, is just take those 2 minutes, those small solutions, just take a couple of little steps if you can, and give yourself such a big pat on the back for doing that. Because if everyone did, we'll be out of this situation, we'll be out of this crisis. So it's a really, really important thing to do.
Yeah, no, excellent. Yeah. So another question we ask our guests: if you had a billboard, what would you put on your billboard to the world? Would it be an image, a statement, a video?
So I think I would do a video. And I think, you know, we've spoken about this a little bit already, is that there's this disconnect between what happens to your waste and how that affects the oceans. So I think I would show a video that is sort of the life cycle of that raw plug going into your wall at home. And what happens when that wall of brick comes down? Where does that wall plug go? How does that get into the oceans? What does it do when it gets to the oceans? And how does that affect the animals that we want to see in our oceans? How does that affect us as divers? You know, there's still even loads of divers that don't really understand why plastics is a problem. You know, they're not understanding that the whale sharks and the other animals are, you know, inhaling a lot of the microplastics that's in there. They're getting stuck in the ghost nets. So I think I would do a video about your action at your house in the middle of God knows where, anywhere, and how that journey of that product ends up at our beaches. I think.
That's good.
Yeah, very powerful. I
hope so.
Really good.
If anyone's out there who wants to, you know, fund that, we're a national charity with very limited funding, but I reckon we can make a great video.
Well, you've definitely got the enthusiasm there, and that is halfway to everything. Enthusiasm and positivity. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's been brilliant, and it's been awesome to have you on. You know, it's been absolutely brilliant. A great message to to tell our listeners, really, to get out there and do a 2-minute beach clean.
Yeah, it's really
do it.
Simple, isn't it? And it's just 2 minutes, and every little counts.
It really does. And you can do it anywhere. If you're not near a beach, you can do it in your street. You can do it on your walk to work, on your walk to the shops. Even when you get out of your car, you're bound to see a cigarette butt on the floor. Like, if you've got some gloves with you, pop it in the bin, you know, like you can do it absolutely anywhere, just as little as you can. And if you don't want to do that, have a look at our 2-minute solutions campaign, because that's all about different choices we can make in our daily life as well.
Excellent. Well, we'll definitely get that on our social media, and the podcast, hopefully we'll get that message out to people as well.
Thank you so much for having me on and letting me ramble on for the last hour.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. Take care, guys.
We're back, and well, that's really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's such a positive, happy, message, isn't it? And a very simple message that's transferable to anybody in any walk of life as well. Yeah,
it is. And you know, you're right. You've got to keep positive about it, because you kind of think, well, it is a big issue. And but if we all keep, you know, chipping away at it, doing what we can do, hopefully at some stage the powers that be that govern us will put pressure on these companies to hopefully, make improvements and things.
Yeah, I think, and that's the one thing that's kind of hit home a bit from her message. It was positive, and it wasn't about doom and gloom and there's so much litter in the sea and so much on the beach. It is about what little effort you can do, no matter what, even if it is picking up 3 cigarette butts. It's something.
Yes. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Education is a lot of it. I think Christina said that, and it is. I think it's true. It's I think education, getting to the kids, education people who do stuff and don't realise the effects it has.
Yeah, and it's not a thing to shame people into dropping litter or blame, because that won't achieve anything. It is about doing something good, being positive about it, and hopefully that positivity will.
If a fisherman, and we could apply this to other sports, but I'm just picking one. But if a fisherman lets go an off-cut of line, because he doesn't see it as any issue, but doesn't see where that ends up in a hedge or something like that, until somebody actually tells them and says, you know what that could happen, how will they know unless they see it? So, that is things like that. But I think it's a really good message, and I think it'd be worth having a word with Gary, mention about June, and see if we maybe
definitely. And any listeners listening, if you're doing a beach clean, then consider using the hashtag 2minute clean. Or 2-minute foundation. It's everything like that all helps with spreading the message out there.
It is. That's what it's down to at the end of the day. So thank you very much, Claire, for coming on.
Yes, very good.
Really good positive message, and I think she's going to have fun going around the country and Northumberland and Birmingham, spreading the message. So that's going to be good. Got to get out there. So she's doing the right thing.
A little tour around the UK spreads the message.
Right. Well, we had a little tour last night, didn't we?
Pardon?
We had a tour, yes.
We did, to the south of the country, to Portsmouth and back.
Been a bit tired today because we were in Portsmouth, the historic port of Portsmouth.
We were maritime heart of the UK. So.
Invited to the launch reception of the 4D experience at the Mary Rose Museum. So the 4D experience is Dive the Mary Rose.
It's a kind of a cinema production, a very short film, but it's interactive, so you sit in a seat that moves.
It's like 10 minutes, isn't it?
So and you see there's a bit of narration at the beginning about the finding of the Mary Rose, and then you sit in the seats and you actually go on a dive down to the Mary Rose and see what they do down there, and then actually the rising of the Mary Rose as well.
And for our listeners, there's some familiar voices. So Alex Hildred, she speaks on it, doesn't she?
She does.
Ross Kemp, he narrates on it, and so does Dame Judi Dench. And it was a very good film, and it uses really high-tech technology at the moment. So there were bubbles, weren't there? Bubbles, I thought that was really cool. And actually, it's a bit weird, actually, when you look through the bubbles, looking at this a 4D, 3D screen, which has got bubbles on, and you actually got bubbles in front of you. Everyone had their hands out, trying to catch the bubbles, weren't they?
So it was very good. And
I think even the mayor, that was the mayor who was in it.
Yes.
I thought I saw the mayor trying to catch the bubbles.
So it was great to see so many people supporting the Mary Rose Trust at the evening event. There were speeches, and we got to talk to
some characters.
4 people that actually were original divers on the Mary Rose project.
And one of them, he was 82 and he's still diving.
It was amazing.
Still diving.
Just amazing characters you come across at these events. Yeah, and then we had a wet, wild drive all the way back to East Anglia.
Yeah.
So,
2:30. I got back 2:30. You got back at what time?
Just before 3, I suppose. I jumped into bed. Yeah. Okay. But a little bit tired. Survived on 3 hours sleep. But definitely very worth it. And thank you to the Mary Rose Trust for inviting us. And
thank you very much. That's awesome.
Support them. And it was great.
Saw some warships, didn't we? We saw moored up the Victory, of course, which is actually undergoing a load of work. Always amazing to see that ship.
It's stunning.
HMS Warrior, another old warship.
Yeah, that's quite a big one, isn't it? A long one.
Yeah. And then there's another warship there, but I don't know what the name of that one was. But the aircraft carrier, that was in.
Yeah. And that's just amazing. The size of it is just, you can't comprehend it.
I think that was the Prince of Wales, I think, that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting place, Portsmouth, full of history and so much to see. So if you are in the UK, definitely put it on your list of places to go. It's a great place for the summer holidays. Take the children to keep them occupied around the museum. It's great for interactive stuff with children. Go on tours around the harbour. Great beaches. Hailing Island. Had a little tour there.
Hailing Island's nice.
Yeah. So.
Hello to Team Last in Hailing. So it's all good. So it was a good day. If you listen to this, don't forget, leave us a 5-star review. It helps us, and it helps your dive buddy finds us if they're looking for a diving podcast. Okay, so
tell your friends as well. Spread the message. There's over 140 episodes to listen to. So
that's going to be. I think this could be another question actually for our guests. Is
how many
of our episodes have you listened? And the minimum requirement to come on is 12.
If you haven't listened to any, bye. So.
How many have you listened to?
But there's lots of variety there, lots of different guests with different stories, but all very inspiring to scuba divers, but also to people that don't dive, that maybe are thinking about it or have just got an interest in the underwater world.
Absolutely.
You'll always take something away from every podcast we've recorded, I think. So you've got the weekend ahead of you, hopefully. The week ahead of you, because this will be coming out on a Monday. So
so
listen to one a day.
Plenty of commuting time if you're commuting to have a listen, and there we go. Don't forget to subscribe.
So that was the Big Scuba podcast.
Excellent. That's it. That's a wrap. See you soon.
Bye.
Now that does wrap up today's episode of the Big Scuba podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.